The power of silence. Thomas Miller wiped the sweat from his weathered brow as he frantically rummaged through another pile of hay. The afternoon sun streamed through the gaps in the wooden barn walls, illuminating dancing dust particles, but failing to reveal what he desperately sought. His grandfather's pocket watch, the last memento from a man who had taught him everything about farming and life, was lost somewhere in this needle-in-a-haystack situation. The watch wasn't particularly valuable in monetary terms. A simple silver timepiece with a worn leather strap and a small crack across its face. But to Thomas, it was priceless. His grandfather had pressed it into his palm on his deathbed 15 years ago, whispering, "Time is the only true currency, Tommy. Spend it wisely." Since then, Thomas had carried it everywhere, its familiar weight in his pocket a constant reminder of his grandfather's wisdom. Until today. He'd been mending a broken stall when he'd noticed the watch was missing. The panic had been immediate and overwhelming. "Damn it all," he muttered, kicking a nearby bucket in frustration. 3 hours of searching, and nothing. The barn was massive, nearly a century old with countless nooks, crannies, and mountains of hay. The watch could be anywhere. Outside, the laughter of children floated through the open barn door. The Hendersons from the neighboring farm had dropped by with their kids, who were now playing tag in his front yard. Thomas paused, an idea forming. He walked outside, squinting in the bright sunlight. "Hey there," he called to the group of 5 children ranging from about 8 to 12 years old. "Anyone want to earn themselves some ice cream money?" Their games halted immediately, curious eyes turning toward him. "My grandfather's watch is lost somewhere in the barn," Thomas explained, pointing behind him. "Whoever finds it gets $10. What do you say?" The response was instantaneous. Like a small army, the children charged past him into the barn, their excited chatter echoing off the wooden walls. Thomas couldn't help but smile at their enthusiasm, even as anxiety gnawed at him. What if the watch was truly lost? What if it had fallen into a crack in the floorboards or been buried so deep in the hay that no one would ever find it? For nearly an hour, the barn was filled with the sounds of searching. Hay being tossed, boxes being moved, the occasional sneeze from the dust. Thomas joined them, continuing his own methodical search, but with each passing minute, his hope dimmed. Eventually, Mrs. Henderson called from outside. "Kids, time to head home for dinner." One by one, the children emerged from the barn, hay stuck to their clothes and hair, disappointment evident on their dirt-smudged faces. "Sorry, Mr. Miller," said the oldest, a freckle-faced girl named Emma. "We looked everywhere." Thomas forced a smile. "That's all right. Thanks for trying." As the Henderson family prepared to leave, Thomas noticed that one boy, 10-year-old Samuel, the quietest of the bunch, hadn't joined them. "Sam's still in the barn," Thomas mentioned to Mrs. Henderson. She sighed. "That boy, always in his own world." "Sam," she called. "Time to go." Samuel appeared at the barn door, his expression thoughtful. "Mr. Miller," he said softly, "could I try once more? By myself." Thomas was surprised by the request. The other children had been so eager to leave, tired from their fruitless search. "You sure, son? It's like finding a needle in a haystack in there." Samuel nodded, his eyes serious behind his glasses. "I have an idea." Mrs. Henderson checked her watch. "We can wait 5 more minutes, but then we really must go." Thomas shrugged. "All right, Sam. Give it another shot." The boy disappeared back into the barn. The other children fidgeted impatiently by their mother's car, clearly skeptical of their brother's chances. Thomas himself had begun to accept that the watch might be gone forever. To everyone's surprise, Samuel emerged just 4 minutes later, a triumphant smile on his face and the silver pocket watch dangling from his hand. "Found it," he announced quietly. Thomas couldn't believe his eyes. He rushed forward, taking the watch with trembling hands. It was indeed his grandfather's timepiece, still ticking faithfully. Relief flooded through him, so powerful he felt momentarily lightheaded. "Sam, that's amazing," he stammered, pulling out his wallet and handing the boy a $10 bill. "But how? We all searched for hours." Samuel pocketed the money with a shy smile. When everyone was searching, it was so noisy, feet shuffling, hay rustling, people talking. I couldn't hear anything else. He adjusted his glasses. So when I went back in alone, I just sat down on the floor and closed my eyes. I made myself completely still and just listened. Listened. Thomas repeated, puzzled. Samuel nodded. In the silence, I could hear it ticking. It was coming from under that workbench in the corner. The watch must have fallen into an old boot. Thomas stared at the boy in amazement. Such a simple solution, yet none of them had thought of it. They had all been too busy moving, searching, creating noise and chaos, when what was needed was stillness. Mrs. Henderson beamed with pride. Sam's always been our thoughtful one. While his siblings are running around, he's the one noticing things the rest of us miss. Later that evening, as Thomas sat on his porch watching the sunset, he turned his grandfather's watch over in his hands. The old man had taught him so many lessons, but today, a 10-year-old boy had taught him something new. In a world that valued constant motion and noise, there was profound power in stillness and silence. Sometimes, the answers we seek aren't found through frantic searching but by quieting ourselves enough to hear the subtle signals that were there all along. Thomas closed his eyes and listened to the gentle symphony of his farm. Crickets chirping, leaves rustling, the distant lowing of cattle. How much had he been missing by not truly listening? He made a promise to himself to find more moments of silence in his days. To sit still occasionally and just listen, to nature, to others, to his own heart. The watch ticked softly in his palm, as if in agreement, counting out the precious seconds of his life.